go.
Welcome to Ask You Anything, brought to you by Moser Consulting. This is a podcast where we explore technology, leadership, workplace culture, and the real experiences that shape professional growth. My name is Brian Gentrup, and I'm your host this week. Today's episode focuses on building resiliency in the workplace, how people adapt to stress, overcome setbacks, navigate change, and continue growing through challenging times in their careers. Joining us today are two guests from Moser Consulting, Tish Guinn, Marketing Coordinator, and Kevin Guinn, Senior Consultant. Tish brings experience in marketing, project coordination, real estate, and law enforcement, all roles that demand communication, adaptability, and composure under pressure. While Kevin brings more than 20 years of experience in IT, including roles in server administration, network administration, and leadership. Before transitioning into technology, Kevin spent a decade in residential and commercial construction and fabrication. He made a major career pivot from construction into IT after suffering a serious back injury. That experience has given him a unique perspective on resilience, reinvention, and long term professional growth. Together, they're here to offer insight into how resiliency shows up across industries, leadership styles, personal setbacks, and the modern workplace. Tish, Kevin, thank you for being here. Welcome to Ask You Anything. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having us.
I'm absolutely fabulous. If I was any better, I'd be a twin.
Nice. Oh, what a nightmare for Tish.
Absolutely. I need all the reinforcements I can get.
All right. So both of you have had incredibly diverse career paths across a lot of different industries and high pressure environments. So how have those experiences shaped your understanding of resilience?
Well, actually, like when I was thinking about resilience, I was like, well, let me look up the definition. Like, what does it say that resilience is? And there's two definitions that came up. It was the capability of a body to recover its size and shape after deformation caused especially by compressive stress. The second one was an ability to recover from or adjust easily to misfortune or change. Now, I think I was born for change because literally, if I don't get it, then I'm a mess, right? So for me, that has just been something that's been a part of my life, period. My dad was in the Air Force. And then after he got out, we moved from California to Fort Wayne, and from Fort Wayne to Indianapolis. So in early stages, there's a lot of change in my life, and I like it. And we've actually got a 13-year-old daughter who's the same way because she's had so much change in her life that now she's just used to it. Literally, you can put her in a brand new room full of new people, and she's like, "What's up?" you know. Um, but just as far as like the thing I love about the different careers that I've had is all of them fed into the other. So what I learned and what I was able to use as a firefighter now when I moved to police, being a police officer, the same skills transferred. It was a completely different job, but they transferred. Both of them are majority white men that work there. I'm the very opposite of that. right? And then you've got then I became a realtor, and that's but all of them are just working with people, meeting their needs, and then helping them accomplish the goals that they have or survive the situation that they're in. And all of that takes resilience because everybody's different, but you work with everybody, all kinds of different personalities. And I think when it comes to resilience, it's more about how you deal with people than it is necessarily always situations. But for me, that's how it's definitely helped in the different environments.
Kevin, how about you?
Don't let fear cripple you, so that things are constantly changing around in the IT world, but they're even changing in the construction. Different methods were being used, different tools were making things easier or more efficient. But like I said, don't be scared of the change. Don't be sitting there crippled by fear that you are not going to be able to learn it, that you're not going to be able to adapt. When really you just need to like take a breath, calm down, and keep moving forward. There's always a process, whether it's how to roof a house that involves a process. My steps may be a little bit different, but there's a baseline. It's the same thing with technology. There is a base process to troubleshooting most issues or to building out an infrastructure. It all has to start with step one through whatever the last step is. So not getting caught up in the details, right, and continuing to focus on being, I guess, progressing.
You mentioned construction. You had a pivot to IT from construction after you sustained like a life-changing injury. So, what did that experience teach you about adaptability and starting over professionally?
I felt like construction was going to be my career that I would end up going into and retiring from, but that all changed with a prognosis from a neurosurgeon. So having to go through and find out what you're going to do. And again, it kind of leans on the don't let fear stop you. So yeah, I guess I could have broke down and been like, my life's over. I'm 27. I don't have a career path and all that. But instead, just going forth and finding out what options I had. I guess taking that opportunity to actually reinvent myself. Like I had been a gamer nerd, if you will, but actually digging in to find out what it would take to be on the back end of that technology to run the servers, to run the network, to do what to make them talk to one another. So there was tough times because it would have been much easier to throw my hands up and be like, this is too much. This is too late in life, if you will, or whatever it is. But instead, just keep moving forward. Like I said, to learn that new skill, to grasp the new concepts. There's tough times because in IT, sometimes you take the problem home with you. So in construction, when you put your hammer down, you don't think about it again until you pick it up the next morning. But in IT, there's times that you have issues or something that you're trying to work through that you take home with you. So I had to figure out how to work through that as well, when to turn it off and how. So that's where a lot of resiliency was needed for me, was to know when to step away in order to still be able to address the issue. Because if I'm running on 1% because I'm just fried, I can't be helping solve the problem.
Kind of reminds me of a saying that I've heard from my grandparents: tough times don't last, tough people do.
Right. 100%. And I would say, to speak to what Kevin was talking about, when I was a firefighter and a police officer, I'd have something terrible happen at work, right? And I think with resilience, you have to know when to get help, right? Like when I've been through the trenches and I need somebody to help me get out of this trench, And generally that's not the people at home because they don't know what you're talking about. They haven't been through what you've been through. One issue that I had when I was a paramedic was we had gotten a call, and what it looked like to me was a 70-year-old. And you generally, first thing in the morning when you get a call for a 70-year-old, it's because they've died in their sleep, which is the best way to go, right? So you get there, I get there, and this mother comes out and she's holding a 7-month-old. And I am looking, and my mind is so not ready for this, like at all. And so she hands me the baby. I go into paramedic mode. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. The baby, we took her to the hospital and we're doing CPR, we're, IVs, the whole nine. We get to the hospital and I'm still doing compressions, but once you get to the hospital, you're supposed to pass them to the hospital staff. I can't leave. I'm like, we got to get her back. We got to get her back. And so after we get done, I leave and I go outside and I'm bawling because we have a 7-month-old at home. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that could have been my baby, right? And so I went, and my captain at the time, he came and he was like, all right. So he called all the powers that be, and we ended up having a meeting. And when you have like bad cases, everybody gets together that was on the scene, and you just talk about it. And the best part was talking to guys who have been firefighters for years, and so they've been through it. And so they open up about things that they've been through and how they got through it, and which helped me, because a lot of times just talking about it helped me get through it. And no, I'm not the only one. I'm not crazy for caring that this baby just died, right? And it was awesome just to have that. But the only time I ever talked to Kevin about what happened at work was when it was something like that. So he would understand where I'm at the time. But otherwise, I didn't take it home. And if anybody can learn anything about one of the keys to being resilient is when you leave the problem, leave it. Don't pick it back up. When you go home, work is done, go home, be with your family or whatever it is you do after work and focus on that. It'll still be there tomorrow, but don't take it with you all day. So that's a big piece of advice that I would give to people.
Okay. Well, do you think, Tish, that resilience is something people are naturally born with, or is it something developed through experience and facing challenges over time, or is it maybe a factor of both?
I think it's a factor of both. And the reason why I say that, because if you've ever met a preemie, you know that, they come out of the womb way too soon and they fight. They have to fight for their life. And I think that automatic, right? They are just born for that. I think for majority of us, it's a skill that we learn over time, and whether it's like one thing I love is sports. You want a young kid to learn how to be resilient, put them in sports because nothing will test how well you take disappointment, how well you deal with other people yelling at you, hitting you, and all the other things when you're young than sports, and it definitely helps build resiliency. But I think that as far as people as a whole, you get some personalities that deal with it way better than others, but I believe everybody can learn how to be resilient and practice it.
Oh, 100%. Like you just see the people that they just handle it so well. I think that's the natural ability. And then you see people that, for example, friends of mine that have been through it, if you will, the rough life, rough upbringing, rough early start, but yet they're still thriving, and so that would be the difference makers. Like you see the ones that were just natural ability, I guess God-given talent, if you will, to be resilient, and then the ones that have earned their stripes through the going through the
Mhm.
fire.
So, have either of you experienced burnout or reached a moment where you realized that something needed to change? And if so, like what helped you reset and move forward?
Yeah, I have in IT. So I don't know that I realized it until a move had happened that forced me down a path. And so being changing my role involuntarily for to me, but then later realizing that I was stressed out and I was carrying the load and the burden and I wasn't happy in life, which is not my typical personality, but it took a toll on me. But then it was, I don't know, 2 or 3 months after the fact of the role change and the day in and day out that I realized, oh man, I, I was in it and didn't even know it. And that, I believe, in hindsight, is the dangerous factor, as in not checking in or not getting checked in on for people to know that you're in the burnout, that you're showing the signs. Because for the most part, people say, "Hey, how you doing?" Either I'm good or it's a day. Well, it's a day could mean so many different things.
Right.
But if as a former leadership role, when you check in, you've got to be able to read between the lines. And I don't know that I had anybody reading between my lines. Yeah. And so, it was a couple months later that and it wasn't like an aha moment. It was more like a progressive moment. Like, man, I don't feel that burden when I wake up in the morning, and it doesn't hit me at 8:15 when the day's just getting started. Like I feel like it's already been a day. And so I don't even think it was then. It was probably another 3 to 4 months after that before it was completely recovered I don't know, I guess recovered from or had healed from that just deep burnout.
I would say it happened twice in my life. But I think the biggest thing is recognizing can I see myself doing this for the next 10, 15 years? If the answer immediately to that is no, it's time for a change, right? And then two, I think the environment, have you built relationships with the people that you work with? Are you invested in the company? Like, do you actually care about it? Like, if it was your own company, would you want to do things to make it better? If the answer to either one of those are no, it's probably time to move on, right? Because we spend a lot of time at work and with the people that we work with. And so I think that, people have to, instead of staying comfortable because life is short, find what it is that you need to be doing, because if you're really unhappy at your job, there are times you're going to be unhappy with your job, but if it's a long-term situation, it's time to move on.
Yeah. I feel like if at a certain point, if you keep saying to yourself, well, it is what it is, man, you know what? It is what it is. Maybe what it is not what it should be. And what
Right?
it is time to change to something else.
Yeah.
And when you're in it like that, sometimes it's hard to recognize because you're just too busy going through it to
Right.
realize where you are. Like the wives' tale about like if you put a frog in a pot of water and you turn up the heat, it'll sit in there until it cooks. It's not actually true. At a certain point, the frog will be like, this water is way too hot and it will jump out. So
Yeah.
at a certain point, the discomfort has to rise to a level where you're like, this is not where I want to be anymore. I have to be somewhere else. And the sooner you can recognize circumstances and get yourself out of them, the better. And the more times you go through something like that, the earlier you're able to recognize it. I think you're like, oh, I'm aware of this feels familiar. Time to make some changes.
Yeah.
That's what experience gives you, the ability to be like, you know what, I'm gonna stop this way earlier than I did last time because I know I kind of see where this might be going, and no, thank you.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is people get stuck like because of the money, right? When I was a realtor full time, I had just had a baby and I was on the road all the time because when people want to see houses, especially back in 2020 and all that, you had to go because that house was going to be off the market in 2 seconds. And so I was literally ripping and running, making great money. And then, but I was like, my baby is not going to be a baby forever, and I am missing so much of it. And so that's when I looked for Moser. Kevin was already working at Moser, and something had come up. It was the marketing coordinator position. And he was like, I think you'd be perfect for this. And I had been to all the things that Kevin, like the company had. So the Christmas parties and the picnics and all that. And I really loved the people that he worked with. And I was like, well, this would be a great place to work. And when I read the description of the job, now granted, I had not been in marketing and or anything like that, but I was like, I can totally do that. You work with different stakeholders, you find out what they need, you get them what they need, and then, make sure that they're happy with the result.
It described you being a realtor, basically.
Yeah,
I remember
pretty
you
much.
saying that. Like, I'm a realtor. I could do this.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of people don't realize that whatever it is that you're doing, the skills can be transferred. It may sound nothing like what you do now, but when you talk about the day in and day out things that you're going to be doing, majority of the time it's transferable. So I guess I say all that to say that people are afraid of change, but a part of being resilient is being able to do that, adjust to that change, and then make it work for you.
But as far as the money goes, I had to look it up because it was completely out of my head. But it's called a satiation point or the income plateau theory, whereas like money, once shelter, food, and kind of security have been locked down, more money is not the key to being fulfilled and like from being happiness. Like it doesn't come from more, those feelings don't come from more money. That comes from, purpose or the relationships you build between like family, friends, coworkers, and the experiences that you have. Now, money can facilitate experience to a point, but like once you have shelter, once you have food, once you have basic securities and like needs met, there's not a lot that money can do to get you additional happiness. So like if you're in a job and you're sticking with it for the money, almost never worth it. I've tried to
Right.
explain this to my two kids who are college and high school, and like when you're going into a career, don't ever take a job purely for money. If you can make money while you're doing something you enjoy and that fulfills you and feels like it gives you purpose, cool. But if you're just doing something for money, you probably won't wind up doing it very long. Okay, so both of your careers involve coordinating with teams, clients, leadership, and stakeholders. How important is communication when building resilient teams and healthy workplace culture?
So I'm going to speak for Kevin for a second because he was a manager over a team at Moser. And the thing that I saw the most was that his team was so cohesive because they all communicated together, right? All the time. I mean, they had a Slack channel that was just on fire all the time, right? And I would say that our team is the marketing team is very much the same way. Like when we are at our best, it's because of how we communicate with each other, how well we work with each other. And I would even say that, like, you don't have to be best friends with the people that you work with, but you do need to respect them. You definitely have to have grace with them, but treat them how you want to be treated, right? And his team did a really, really good job of taking care of each other. If somebody needed to be off, hey, what do you need? We'll take care of it. Communicating with each other as far as, hey, I got this going on. I need some help with it. All of that. So, a team working well together, communicating well with each other, and then also being free to share, I don't like this, and even if that isn't something that can be changed, just being able to voice the fact that I don't like this and come up with an idea of how to fix it also helps. But just being free to be open about how you're feeling or what you're thinking also helps.
And that's what I thought.
That's that's what all those years of marriage get you.
Right.
Just I'm gonna channel Kevin right now. Kevin, this next one will start with you. Your background and experience in both construction and IT leadership, and Tish, also your background in law enforcement, exposed you guys to high pressure situations or brought different kinds of pressure and responsibility across those experiences. What lessons from those environments still influence how you approach workplace challenges today?
So for me, there are some deadlines that can not be not met. For example, you're finishing up the roof of a house, the roof is exposed, and a storm is rolling in. You have to do what it takes to get it done. Of course, there is an option to tarp, but if it's in within your reach that you can finish it, do what it takes to finish it, whether it be cutting out on lunch or not taking a lunch. But that transfers into support, IT. Well, there's times that like it comes outside of what your perfect bubble appears to be. There's somebody that is persistent with saying that you're wrong and they've tried to do what you're asking them to do, or there's a problem that you're entertaining that it's not easily solved no matter how much chat gpt tells you this is the answer. And so being able to still move forward when you've got that resistance, you've got that you could say we'll hit it tomorrow when it's not raining. You don't know that it's not going to be raining tomorrow, right? So just being able to take and transfer from construction, like bear down, get it done, and see it through, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So do that in technology as well, because throwing your hands up and quitting isn't really an option in either.
I would say for me, being able to stay calm. One thing I told my daughter the other day, so she's the youngest, but she's also kind of a bully in the sense of if something happens and she doesn't like it, she'll swing at somebody, right? And so I had her in front of me and I said, "Hey, so everybody struggles with this where we're feeling a certain way, our emotions get heightened, and it's at that moment where you have to take a deep breath Close your eyes if you have to. Breathe, and then try to figure out, okay, how do we solve this? Right? Because there's always a way to solve it, and sometimes it's walking away from it for a little while, right? But you can't just take your emotions out on other people. And I think when it comes to high stress, high pressure situations, especially like when I was a police officer, we have guns. We have to stay very calm. We can't just go off and hit people. And as a matter of fact, you'll have people saying all kinds of stuff to you. You'll have people cussing you out. You'll have people bucking up to you and wanting to do this and do that and saying this and saying that. And you have to stay calm. And the best way to do that is to try to take yourself out of the situation in the sense of this person is upset. They're not upset at me, they're upset at the situation. Okay, so how do I have a little bit of empathy and try to figure out, okay, how do we solve the big problem, which is the whole reason why I got called, is we need to calm things down. The second problem is how did it start, and how do we get the people to see, okay, what you're doing is going to make things 1,000 times worse. Okay, so okay, let's think, how do we fix it so we can all walk away free from this, right? And I think in IT and in marketing as well, you'll get people who are irate, and you have to be able to say, okay, this person isn't upset with me. They're upset at the situation. And we've all been on those phone calls where our internet isn't working and we're like, you got something that you got to get done. The other person on the phone, it's not their fault that your internet doesn't work, right? But you're upset. And if you can be the calming force in the room, you have done a world of wonder, right? And so the biggest way to be resilient in high pressure situations is to take a breath and realize that this is not live or die. Okay, as a police officer sometimes it might have been, but in IT it is not live or die. We will get through this. We just got to use our heads, and you cannot use your head if your emotions are all the way up here.
The ability to hit the mental mute button, assess the situation, and realize that the internet is not broken, but you may need to restart your router. Turn it off and turn it back on again.
Number one rule of IT: if it's not working, turn it off, turn it back on. If you learn anything from this, learn that.
Okay, so well, outside of that, what advice would each of you give to young professionals who are entering maybe very demanding careers or navigating major career changes for the first time?
Don't come into IT, go do anything else.
Oh, wow.
Mine would be curious, be aggressive in your learning, but don't put it first in your life. You can have life outside of your profession, which is going to be there when your profession's done. You're still going to have, so don't neglect, I guess what I'm trying to say is don't neglect the people in your life and your life just to pursue a career that's going to come to an end before your life, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Is there a better way to say that?
Don't confuse.
If you go ahead, Brian. Translate me.
Don't confuse your career for your life, and don't confuse what you do with who you are.
Yeah, so don't let your career define who you are, right? And then there's still more outside the four walls of your chosen career.
I had mine, and then when Kevin started talking, I started thinking about his. So give me a second. Give me a second.
And that's the husband-wife scenario.
Right? Don't try to escape the hard things. Because just about everything in your life that is worth doing is going to be hard. You look at any great athlete, they had to put in time, they had to put in work, they had to murder their body to become the athlete that they are. Anybody who does great at anything, it's going to be hard. There are going to be hard times, but if you can find a nugget of purpose or joy in what you do, that is what helps you get through the hard part. It's kind of like being a parent. Having kids is hard. It is not for the faint at heart. But you love those little suckers, and they will put you through crazy things, and it's a lot of hard work, but I can't think of anything else that I've done that was completely worth it the way that is, right? I remember I used to tell people all the time, I don't know what I was doing before I was a mother. Now, granted, I've done a lot of things. I've lived in a lot of places, but being a mother has the biggest purpose. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I have 3 little human beings that I'm trying to train to be amazing adults. And it's really hard, but it's worth it. And I think a job can do the same thing. It can be really hard, but if you can make a difference or make a company better, or make somebody's life easier by helping them with their IT problem, great. You just made somebody's day.
So if listeners take away one message from today's episode and this conversation about workplace resilience, what would you want that lesson to be? What would you want them to remember?
Find your best way to adapt to change and still be your best.
Don't give up. Don't quit because it's hard. That's the hard is what's defining you and your character. So just keep plugging away at it. But I also say that to say, just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it.
And with that, we're going to draw this episode to a close. Kevin, Tish, thanks very much for taking the time to join us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. It was fun.
Had a blast. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening in to this week's edition of Ask You Anything, presented by Moser Consulting. We hope you enjoyed listening to Tish and Kevin Guinn sharing their insights on resilience, leadership, communication, and navigating pressure in today's workspace. And if you remember one thing from this episode, I hope that its resilience isn't about pretending stress doesn't exist. It's about learning how to adapt, recover, support others, and continue moving forward, even when things get difficult. Remember, a single step is still progress. And if you're going to fall forward. We hope you'll join us next time as we continue to dive deeper with our resident experts and what they're currently working on. Don't forget to send us your ideas or topics via our social media feeds. And in the meantime, please remember to give us a rating and subscribe to our feed wherever you get your podcasts. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure and check out more conversations from Ask You Anything at listen.moserit.com. Until next time, so long, everybody.
Go